Welcome to Basic Brewing Radio for Thursday, February 29th. Leap Day 2024. Happy birthday, Leap Day people. I'm James Spencer. Here at Basic Brewing Radio, we're all about home brewing. This week, Haven Schultz joins Steve Wilkes and me as we taste beers brewed by members of the Bru Club, participating in our Mash Your Luck Challenge. 6 club members brewed beers inspired by the parameters of our medium ABV, low-mid bitterness, amber color, ale type, and UK origin thing. Well, a bunch more brewed, but six of them volunteered to send their beers to us, and we're going to taste them on the show. And it's going to be a long, fun show. So get a beer or two of your own. If you want to support us financially, check out patreon.com/basicbrewing. Many thanks to everybody who's helping out in that way. If you go to patreon.com/basicbrewing, you can see a long list of stuff that you can access if you sign up as a supporter. And to be serious, I want to take this opportunity to especially thank our Patreon supporters for their loyal support. And lately, it has gotten even more important in what has become a challenging time for those associated with homebrewing. The AHA recently announced they're not having HomebrewCon this year, as you probably have heard, and they've chosen not to sponsor this podcast this year. I completely understand that, and I'm extremely grateful for their many years of support, and we hope that things turn around in the near future. In addition, our great friends, Desiree and Dave of HighGravityBrew.com have announced through social media that they're facing a financial crisis. It's been a very tough past 4 years, as you probably know. The pandemic, rising costs, fewer people brewing, a lot fewer people brewing, and most recently dry January have put them in a severe bind. And after 20 years of being the epicenter for brewing in the Tulsa area, their lease is up next month, and they've got a very difficult decision to make. And you could read more of the details about that on their High Gravity Fermentations Facebook page. So you can help by buying the ingredients for your next beer at HighGravityBrew.com, or finally getting that Warthog electric system that you've been wanting. Show Desiree and Dave some love for supporting basic brewing. Maybe even before the podcast. I think they were among the first homebrew shops who bought our DVD, and it may have been in that time, when I hadn't even started the show. I'm supporting them by giving them free advertising while they're working things out, and you can help by sending some business their way at HighGravityBrew.com. And while you're doing it, you can see why I love shopping there. Great ingredients, great equipment, wonderful people, great service. So HighGravityBrew.com to show some love to Desiree and Dave of HighGravityBrew.com. And again, if you want to see more details, go to their Facebook page at High Gravity Fermentations on Facebook. Bringing it all back, I'm extremely grateful for the continuing support of Imperial Yeast and Groenfeld.com, and of course, of you to go to, or who go to patreon.com/basicbrewing. I've never approached anybody to become an advertiser. I'm not a sales guy. I've been very lucky in that every one of our advertisers came to me and wanted to place ads. And in fact, in the beginning, I didn't want to have advertisers, and I didn't because we were selling a bunch of DVDs and logbooks and shirts and stuff. But then the world of media changed, of course. Those little shiny little discs fell out of favor, and our advertisers and listener supporters were there to keep the boat floating and down the river. So it's been a crazy 2 decades so far, and we're keep on going. We're chugging along. Anyway, to continue the journey, let's continue by tasting a half dozen examples of well-crafted homebrew. A while back, Haven Schultz asked me if I'd be interested in presenting a Mash Your Luck challenge to members of the Bru Club. I said, yes, please, of course. Steve and I had a great time tasting some of the beers that resulted from that challenge. Haven Schultz, welcome back to Basic Brewing Radio.
Thank you for having me, James. Glad to be back.
And Steve Wilkes, welcome back to Basic Brewing Radio.
Hi, guys.
we're you got heavy duty tonight, Steve. You're going to taste beers.
Yeah, I know it's tough work. But what is it they say? Somebody's got to do it.
That's right. And tonight it's you.
It's me.
We're going to taste beers that are as a result of a collaboration with the Bru Club. Bru meaning BRU with umlauts. And that is associated with the Brulosophy podcast and the Brulosophy blog.
Oh.
And Haven is one of the leaders of that organization. And give us a quick reminder of who y'all are.
Yeah. So yeah, like you said, my name is Haven, part of the leadership team for the Bru Club. We are an online homebrew club that's loosely based around Brulosophy. It was started by the Brulosophy guys back probably 5 or 6 years ago, and kind of started hot, tapered off a little bit, and now is back for its second coming of kind of being an online homebrew club, an online presence for brewers to come and hang out and chat about different things with beer and participate in some cool activities we have. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a great little spot for people that maybe don't have a local homebrew club near them. We see those closing a lot more. Every day we see a local shop closing or a club dissipating or something like that. So we're just giving that good presence for somebody who can join from the comfort of their own home and still have a lot of fun talking about beer. So glad to be here.
It's really as kind of a sidebar, isn't it great that nowadays in these modern times we can stream stuff? It's in other words, you can have a online homebrew club that is effective because it's easy to set up your computer and sit and talk and do video back and forth and or your phone, whatever. But you couldn't have done that clearly in 2000 or something like that. So it's really great.
It's amazing. And the guests that we've been able, it's not just no name me or some of the other leadership guys just talking about whatever. We're having guests like Vinny Cilurzo, Brian Perky from Lallemand, these big names in brewing and home brewing come and talk to us because of that virtual nature. We have them jump on a Teams call and share their knowledge. It's been incredible. So a lot of fun.
And it's not exclusive. In fact, one of the participants is a local guy, Matt Daniels, and he said that he's not only a member of the Bru Club, but he's also a member of Flops, the local Fayetteville lovers of pure suds, the local club as well. So as we were talking to the last time you were on Haven, you can do both. You can do distance and your local club as well.
And most members do. A lot of people like myself, I had a local club kind of come back for its second iteration not too long ago, and I've kind of joined up with those guys too. So even the leadership team has a second club as well. So yeah, we're happy to take on anybody and everybody, and we're gonna listen to your crazy ideas and talk beer with you and probably share some beer too. So that's all good with us.
Yay. Now, what we're here to do, you offered to collaborate with me and with Steve in soliciting recipes that are generated through randomness, through this thing that Adam Ross and I came up with, Adam Ross of Twin Span Brewing in Bettendorf, Iowa. We came up with this thing called Mash Your Luck, and it's based on the old game show Press Your Luck. It's a little bit of a pun there. Press, mash also being, what you do, your beer. Anyway, it's clever. It's super. I'm proud of myself. Anyway.
Well, it's way better than my old idea. And I only had one meeting. We call it Mash Your Thumb. Nobody wanted to do it twice. I don't know why.
You nailed it there.
Yeah, that's right.
Right on the head. Okay, so... We're starting early. We haven't even been drinking. At least I haven't.
No.
I just had that Benadryl at lunch. So what we have here is we have 5 categories, and they each have characteristics associated with the category, and you choose each characteristic in each category based on a random number generator. And then after you go through the 5 categories, we've decided that you can go back and do a joker and re-roll a category if you want to. For example, under ABV, which is one of the categories, We have very low, low, medium, high, and very high. Under bitterness, we have low, low to mid, balanced, high, and very high. Under color, we have pale, gold, amber, brown, and black. Under type, we have lager, ale, and I think did we include sour, Haven?
We included Belgian. I know that. I don't. We might have did sour too. I don't remember.
Yeah, under origin, we have U.S., Germany, the U.K.,
That's
and then we included Belgium as well. And do you remember what you wound up with in rolling the dice for your compatriots there, your compadres?
Yes, we ended up with a low to medium bitterness, medium ABV, amber German ale. And we decided to roll the joker on the origin and ended up with UK. So all the other parameters the same, but that origin switched from German to UK, which I thought went really well. It was a great little set of parameters, nice and easy.
Yeah, you essentially rolled Steve Wilkes's the majority of what Steve brews.
I know, right? That's what I was thinking. So I'm going to get some of my beer out now. I got a little best bitter sitting over here. I actually might go get one.
There you go.
The medium ABV, low to mid bitterness, amber English ale. That's Steve Wilkes right there.
That's right.
So
slightly, anyway,
we didn't mention it on the show, but they had the option if they wanted to add sugar or add adjuncts, fruit or whatever along with that if they wanted to. But I'm really interested to see how what they came up with. I've got 6 beers. Steve's got 5. This first one that we're going to taste, I'm going to be tasting alone because it came from a local brewer from Fayetteville, Arkansas. So, is there anything else? Oh, how was the participation, Haven?
Very well. I don't have an exact count. Just with the virtual nature of our club, people we do have some lurkers that participate and maybe don't say anything or don't speak up. But that's okay. That's fine. At least they're brewing. I think we had like 15 or 16 entries to send beer to you. And of course, we only picked 6. So we had quite a few people even interested in sending to you for you guys to taste on the podcast. And past that, I would guess we had a few more that even didn't submit, just if they didn't want to ship beer or anything like that. So
yeah,
all in all, good turnout.
Excellent. Yeah, and we picked 6. I've picked 6, Steve, because I figured that's about all we could handle.
Yeah,
in one sitting.
Yeah,
we're going to taste 32 beers this evening.
Well, I was going to say that's another thing that I like about doing these kind of remote shows, because I don't have to drive home from your house.
Yes.
Or curl up on your bathroom floor if it was a really good show.
And, I told you I woke up this morning all stopped up. So, there's a germ barrier between us, so we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and talk about the first one. This first one is a local guy from Fayetteville, Arkansas. Matt Daniels is his name. And we met up at Boston Mountain Brewing Company in Fayetteville. And Daniel, our good friend Daniel, was there. And that's where the homebrew shop is now. That's where your shop wound up, Steve.
Migrated.
And yeah, and I walked in at 11 o'clock on a Saturday morning, and they were doing a whiskey tasting at the bar. So
nice.
I might have joined in a little bit. I don't know. So while I'm opening this beer and pouring it, let's hear from the interview that I did with Matt. Matt Daniels, welcome to Basic Brewing Radio.
Hey, James. Thanks for having me.
We're here at a bar at 11 o'clock in the morning, but it's Saturday, so it counts. So you submitted a beer, and you're the only of the 6 submissions. You're the only one that I'm going to be talking to because you're right here in Fayetteville. So talk about this beer that you submitted.
Yeah, so this is an English porter. Is a little bit dark for the amber color from the Mash Your Luck, but it's got a little amber hue when you hold it up to the light. So this is actually the third iteration of the English porter that I've made. Just slight changes to the recipe that I've done in the past. It actually just won a competition here with my local homebrew club called Iron Brewer. So I'm confident that it's, at least a decent beer representation of English porter style, at least. So while it might not, mash your luck perfectly, it's a decent beer, and my friends like it, so I don't know.
And you've only been brewing for a short time.
Yeah, I brewed my first extract beer in June 2023 or something like that, early summer, late spring-ish. So about 9-10 months. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to trying it. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, thanks, James. I'm glad to participate, and even though I live pretty locally, it's nice to meet you. I've definitely been listening to the podcast for a while, and looking forward to see what you think of the English porter.
It's delicious. No big surprise. Talk about the recipe, Haven.
Yeah. So like Matt said, it is English porter. So it might be a little bit dark. The SRM looks to be a little over 26. What do you think about the color?
Yeah, I would call this brown instead of amber.
Okay.
But it's delicious. So I'm not going to complain about, too much about a free beer. That's delicious.
Well, that's all right. We'll go with that. I'm sure if you held up a light to it, it'd be red, kind of like porters are. So that's okay. So it looks like Matt had, I'll kind of talk in percentages because everyone has a different batch size here. Matt started with a little over 69% proximity Pilsner malt, little over 12% of flaked oats, 8% of brown malt, which you don't see very often outside of this style. So that's nice. A little bit of caramel 60, a little bit of Brice chocolate, and then just a hint, 2% of roasted barley, bittered with CTZ, which is, I think, pretty unique for the style. And then some additions of Fuggles at 30 minutes and 5, fermented with A09 pub.
It's real good. It's got a fairly substantial mouthfeel. I wouldn't call it silky, but it's bordering on silky. It's got a nice sharp bitterness to balance things out. Not a whole lot of, upfront hop character, but you wouldn't want it in this style, I don't think. It's super drinkable. And yeah, it's super clean, fermented. If I were brewing beers this good at 9 months into it, I would have been very, very happy, but I have a feeling mine weren't this good at 9 months in. So
I can remember my 9-month beers, and they were not great. To say the least.
But it's all about the learning.
Oh, yeah. I certainly learned a lot of lessons early. A couple other stats about Matt's recipe here. Original gravity of 1051, final of 1014. So he came out just a hair short of 5%. So that's what I want on tap around my house is sub 5%. I mean, full of flavor, drinkable. That sounds like a delicious beer.
Yeah, it's way good. Yeah, if I were to ding anything, it's a little dark for the the Mash Your Luck parameters, but this is our first foray into this kind of thing. So, and there's not it's not a contest necessarily. As David Letterman used to say at Stupid Pet Tricks, this is an exhibition, not a competition. Please, no wagering. I think that's what he used to say. So at any time, y'all just jump in and derail me if I'm, I don't want to dominate the conversation here.
I was going to ask James, I'm not sure how familiar you are with the English porter style. What do you think it is compared to the BJCP guideline? Is it pretty close to what you'd expect if you ordered an English porter at a pub?
I think so. I mean, I'm not a certified beer judge by any stretch of the imagination, but if I were to go into a bar, into a pub, and ask for a porter, I'd be real happy with this. It's not a brown ale. It's not a stout, I don't think. It's not. I don't think it's roasty enough to be what I call a stout. I think it's just a solid, straight down the line porter. I think it's really, really good.
Awesome.
Okay. So, Steve's feeling left out. So, shall we? He's getting thirsty, probably. Shall we go? Just because I reached into the grab bag here, and this is the next beer that I picked. Shall we go with what Chris Boggs sent us?
Okay.
Yeah, let's do that.
This is some wrote lengthy letters and included goodies along with their things. Chris was fairly succinct. He said, "My name is Chris Boggs. I'm from Washington State. I made a strong bitter." So there you go.
I like it.
Straight to the point.
All right.
I love it. So,
my own heart.
So while we're opening and pouring, Haven, do you want to do the honors and read the recipe?
Yeah, you bet. So it looks like an OG of 1058, final gravity of 1020. So just right at 5%. Beautiful for a best bidder. Looks like a 16 SRM, so that should be nice and amber for you guys. Heading into grain bill, looks like the bulk of it was, no surprise, Maris Otter, a little over 90%, with just a little bit of pale chocolate, caramel 80, and brown malt to round out the malt bill. And then EKG to bitter at the beginning of the boil, and then Fuggles layered throughout at 15 and 10. Brewer's friend kind of put some funny hopping in here. Also a little bit of Magnum at the beginning of boil, I'm assuming just to help bump up those IBUs. Looks like it was fermented with Bru London, which is fantastic yeast. That's one of my favorites, and it's actually, I know it's going away. They kind of took it out of circulation, so I bought a bunch of sachets just to keep around. But that's a fantastic yeast to use, and I'm sure it left a good amount of sweetness behind too. So, what do you guys think?
Steve, you want to go?
Yeah, just say I'd comment on the last observation, and it did leave some nice sweetness and some nice caramel notes in the beer. Very well balanced, I think, in terms of the hop to malt character, and it's kind of what I would expect this beer to taste like. You know what I mean? It's really good.
I neglected to say there's a sticker on it, and the name of the beer is "This Bitter Be Good." I think it's good. It's definitely lighter in color. It fits more into the color parameters than the first one. It's more fruity, I would say, from a yeast character. And I think that's where the fruitiness is coming from. It's not out of bounds. Just compared to that first beer that I had, which is a little more dry and leaning more toward the roast, the malt character. This one is a little more yeast-driven, fruity, but it's good.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't think I've ever brewed with that yeast, with the London yeast. I didn't sell it. And I just don't have any experience with it, but I'm aware of it. I'm familiar with it, just anecdotally. And yeah, I think it's a really fruity British style beer. So, good job to the brewer.
Is that what draws you to that yeast, Haven?
Yeah, I liked it. Windsor, which is another British yeast that Lallemand has, the attenuation is so much lower than London. I felt London chewed through a little bit more sugar than Windsor does, so it dried out some of those British beers that I did just a little bit more, but still left that sweetness behind. Like Steve said, the caramel malt is only a little less than 4% of this recipe. Yeah. So really having that yeast accentuate that sweetness is nice, because it really is. I mean, it's the recipe's majority of base malt, so leaving behind that sweetness is good, especially in a best bitter.
Yeah, and it's not a syrupy. In other words, if you get too much crystal malt or caramel malt in your beer, it can become kind of sticky. And So this is nice that it brings that sweetness out, and it brings that little caramel note out without making it kind of like there's unattenuated syrup in it in a way.
And I get a little more hop character out of this one. I had a little hop burp there, and it's a nice hop character coming from this. Whereas the Matt's, delicious as it was a little more neutral, on the hop front.
I was just going to say, Chris's beer is calculated IBUs of 41, so it's much higher than Matt. I believe Matt's was 26, especially with a little bit more oomph to the grain bill on Matt's. That bitterness probably shows through just a little bit more on this one.
Kudos, and so we're in the same ballpark. So far nothing crazy. From the parameters, everybody kind of sticking sort of close to home on these.
Which is, that's nice to see. Like James, I know you and I talked about our other recipe collaboration that we do in the Bru Club, the Average Brew, where we choose a style and then we choose specific ingredients and parameters we have to follow for that specific style, and things sway a little bit, but for the most part, brewers stay within those parameters. This I felt was a good exercise to, the parameters are as loose as really loose can get, which is nice to to see that people are staying within it and brewing some decent beers within too. That's nice to see.
Yeah.
If you were, I guess I'll ask this question again. If you were to walk into a pub and order a best bitter, would this kind of fit your expectations, and would you order another one?
Yes, I'd order another one. It, I don't want. It's a little. Gosh, I'm no great style expert, but it's perhaps a little darker and perhaps a little more caramelly than I would have expected. Geez, I can't talk. But yeah, I would order another one. Sure, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think it's good. Both of those beers were not, certainly not novelty beers, but certainly very, very drinkable. And if I were at a pub or if I were at somebody's house and it was on tap, sure, I'll have another one. Coming up this Monday, March 4th, will be the release of the next seasonal yeast from our friends and sponsors at Imperial Yeast. It's A37 Pog. Pog is a Kveik yeast that's ready for the tropical lifestyle. Pog produces an extreme amount of tropical fruit aromas, including pineapple and guava when fermented at higher temperatures, and at the lower end of the temperature range, you get more delicate citrus, peach, and kiwi aromas. It's also highly flocculent, which makes it great for a fast turnaround, especially if you're brewing out in the hot porch. Ever since talking to Mika Leitinen the other day, I've been wanting to brew a hoppy raw ale, and I think Pog would be just the ticket. And with those 200 billion cells in each easy-to-open package of Imperial yeast, I know that it will turn out well. In fact, my stir plate is not only covered in dust, but other random things on my counter because I just don't use it anymore to make starters for moderate gravity 5-gallon batches. Where am I from now? And I'm sure that Pog will be bubbling way before bedtime. Ask your local homebrew shop about A37 Pog from Imperial Yeast and check out all the dependable deliciousness at imperialyeast.com. That's imperialyeast.com. Let's go to. Are we ready to go to the next one? Will Altward is a longtime listener to the podcast and writer to the podcast. He sent not only this Mash Your Luck beer, but he's also sent a can of the Average Brew Porter for to enjoy off the air. But Will had a bit of an email here. Longtime listener to the podcast and viewer of the YouTube channel here. I'm constantly amazed by how you keep the content so creative and interesting from week to week. Boy, I am too. If it is. So imagine my excitement when I heard of this opportunity for the Mash Your Luck project on your podcast. I'm super pumped to share my version of this beer and hope it showed up in good shape. It did. Tell you a bit about myself. I live in Raleigh, North Carolina, and have been brewing since about 2015. Originally, I tried a Mr. Beer kit way back in the early 2000s, but failed miserably. I didn't try brewing again until after watching a TV show called Brew Dogs that got me interested in brewing again. By that time in 2015, there was plenty of good content available on homebrewing. I took a deep dive down the rabbit hole and haven't looked back. I've done everything from extract brewing using a cooler mash tun with a propane burner, but now I've mostly settled on brewing 3-gallon all-grain batches on an electric all-in-one system. I enjoy brewing the smaller batch sizes these days because it allows me to brew more often and have more variety on tap. The Mash Your Luck beer you are drinking today features an English hop that I learned about from another YouTube channel and wanted to give it a try. The hop is called Harlequin and is said to be an intense hop that boasts big fruit flavors such as passion fruit, peach, and pineapple. I brewed this beer with the intent for it to be an ESB, but it may taste more like an American amber ale. I'll let you be the judge. Okay. And then he sent the recipe, but Haven's going to read the recipe. So this came in a cool little resealable can with a little screw top on the top.
Yeah, I've never seen this before.
I'm not sure I have either. Let's see.
I've a couple of the guys in the Brew Club have talked about those, especially for sending to competitions and such. It's much easier than bottling and dealing with all the headache of bottling. So, and they've said they've had good luck with it. So I'm curious to see if it shows up for you guys carbonated and kind of how the beer held up in those.
Oh yeah, mine's great. It's got a really nice head on it. It's beautiful. Yeah, it came out really good. That's amazing. I love this.
Yeah, if you want to get into canning and don't want to buy a seamer and all that stuff, then maybe that's the way to go. It's a little lighter than Chris's. Yeah. It's got a nice tan head on it. So tell us about the recipe, Haven.
Yeah. Let's go through this here. So this is a strong bitter, so one step up from Chris's beer. Original gravity of 1058, final gravity of 1012. So we're sitting at 6%. So the strongest one of the bunch yet. A little bit more bitter, calculated IBU of 46 with a color of 14 SRM. So yeah, like you said, probably just a little bit lighter in color. Mm-hmm. Grain bill was kept a little bit more simple than the rest of them. It looks like some pale ale malt for 88% of the recipe. A little bit more caramel in this one, 75 Lovabond caramel for 7.5%. And then finishing it out with some Simpson's Crystal DRC, which I believe is their darker caramel. I haven't used that myself. And this one actually has just a hair of sugar in it, just some sucrose in there. Just to bump up the ABV just a little bit. Now, Harlequin, I've never heard of that, but he bittered with that and a little bit of Warrior. Again, I'm assuming just to bump up the bitterness because it was only a 30-minute boil on this. And then Harlequin through the rest of the boil at 10 minutes and 2 minutes. So I'm curious to see what you guys think of that hop because I have it written down here to go and buy some to try it already. And then this was fermented with Lallemand New England yeast, which is, again, a new different strain that I haven't tried either.
Yeah, me neither. I really like this beer quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I like this one a lot, and I like that it's light, on my palate, and I like the hop character very much. Though it doesn't just knock you in the face. When I heard the descriptor of it, I thought, "Ooh, that's going to be." I thought really of like an Australian or a New Zealand one almost, and but I don't get that, and but it is I do pick up a little bit of that fruit character, and very nice beer, very drinkable beer.
Yeah, it's got a nice sharpness to the bitterness. I do right on the front of the tongue. I got that fruity character. And I couldn't at the moment I couldn't decide whether it was a yeasty fruitiness or a hoppy fruitiness, and I think it's hops. I think it's a little bit of the tropical fruit coming in, but not enough to throw it too much out of the ballpark. It's not the New England IPA of best ESBs or whatever. It's it's really really good. It's a clear beer, well fermented, well balanced, well done. I'm gonna come up with some more adjectives, Steve. I'm gonna take another sip.
Well, it just the balance part is what I appreciate about it, because it's not, again, it doesn't knock you over in any one place. This so far, this is the one that if I had gone into a British pub and said, give me a pint, this is the one that most speaks to me.
Interesting. Now, I know Will has talked about this on the Bru Club socials a couple times now, so I may bias you, but he gets a very strong strawberry shortcake aroma from it. Do you guys pick that up?
Well, today's not the day to talk about my
I was
nose.
Say, me neither. I'm a little I didn't get a whole lot of bouquet, but I think that's me, not the beer, for sure. I do kind of get what he's saying. I kind of get a little strawberry. In other words, the fruit character is very light, very ethereal, but there. And so strawberry would be a good descriptor of that's just very light and kind of fleeting without being overpowering. And I definitely get that.
Yeah, I could be talked into strawberry on the flavor, definitely. Yeah. It's very delicate. Yeah.
Well, I have to own up to something, so I ran over real quick and grabbed one of the best bitter that I just made, and it's still actually kind of, getting bottle conditioned. And I'm a bottler; I don't keg. And I cracked one open, and in terms of recipe, I'll give you mine just really quick. 6 pounds, or 78% of Maris Otter, 6.6% of 20 Levabon Crystal, 6.6% of Victory, 6.6% of brown sugar, light brown sugar, and then 1.6 or 2 ounces of roasted barley. And I just bittered with just a 60-minute charge of Northern Brewer. Let's see, what's his name? Will's beer is better than mine. There's no doubt. He beat me like a cheap rug. This is a good beer. I mean, mine's okay. I don't want to pour mouth my beer, because it's certainly a good beer, but I really like this beer a lot.
Yeah, it's good. It's very good.
Yeah.
I don't want to be biased, but should we pick a favorite, Haven, or not? I mean,
I think it's okay.
Yeah. At the end, we can certainly come back and review all of them and pick a favorite, and I'm sure that person will enjoy bragging about it in the Bru Club socials.
I think so far I think this is my favorite, just because of the little fruity character, which I've been accused of having myself. But that's so maybe I'm biased, but not that there's anything wrong with that. But no, I like it. It's because it's a little different. The other two were more kind of solid. You could say, yep, those fit into certain categories. Mm-hmm. This one, while it stays within the guidelines of the exhibition, it's a little something different. Just to differentiate itself.
Yeah, I just pulled the hop up on Yakima Valley Hop's website, and the description of it just seems incredible. I mean, so different than your traditional Fuggle or EKG. So definitely got a few ounces of that added into my cart already. So we're going to be doing something with that.
Now, Haven, which is the one that you have? You have one.
I have Aaron's beer, if you guys have that.
Yeah, let's go that. This is the one with the American flag bottle cap, Steve.
Okay.
And Aaron sent a couple of extra beers. He sent a Fuller's London Pride, outstanding amber ale, and Barrio Brewing Company Blonde Ale. Barrio, let's see, where's Barrio out of? Tucson. Okay. So, and then Aaron sent package of goodies. He sent some stickers. So, boy, Aaron may be, going for the lead here. Here's a sticker for Crow's Nest Porter, Golden Galleon, and then a couple of Tucson, Arizona LifeNet stickers. And Aaron says, I'm a flight paramedic. This resembles the patch on my flight suit. So, man, he's got everything. Even if his beer's lousy, I think I'm going to say it's good.
Well, he didn't send what I really wanted, which was real estate.
So Aaron wrote a note. My name is Aaron Rodgers, not the former Green Bay quarterback, but a resident of the picturesque Sonoran Desert in Tucson, Arizona. As a longtime fan of Basic Brewing, our paths crossed through past emails, and your generosity shone through when you sent me Basic Brewing silicone pint glasses as a wedding gift in 2019. How cool am I?
Wow.
My wife and I enjoyed using them at our reception, where we, along with our guests, savored the 7 kegs of beer that I brewed for our celebration. Thank you for your kindness. Well, isn't that nice?
Wow.
Nice of me. That didn't come out right. But it's nice that they had a good time. Now on to the purpose of the letter. Your Mash Your Luck recipe creation episodes inspired me, leading to a collaboration proposal with the Bru Club for our quarterly average brew challenges. Excited by your agreement, I closely followed your conversation with Haven as you formulated our recipe. Initially unsure about what to brew, I turned to AI for guidance. Using ChatGPT to shape my starting point after minor adjustments and inputting the recipe into Brewfather, it suggested aligning with Best Bitter BJCP 11B. Despite my unfamiliarity with the style, I sought imports like London Pride for comparison, though I acquired them only after finishing my brew, tasting commercial examples like London Pride, Old Speckled Hen, Boddington's, and Threakston Best Bitter, alongside my creation, revealed intriguing similarities, though not identical. I've included a bottle of London Pride, thank you, Aaron, very much, for you to sample alongside my crafted Best Bitter. A heartfelt thanks to you and Steve for your hard work and entertaining antics. Basic Brewing and Brewlosophy are my go-to resources when I'm looking to create something new or improve past endeavors. Cheers and happy brewing. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Aaron.
Nice.
He said, P.S. I used ChatGPT to assist in crafting this email as well. And I've included a couple of stickers from our previous Average Brew beers in case you collect things like that. Very cool. So, yay.
I've had Aaron sent me a package unrelated to this this collaboration between us, James. But Aaron sent me a package of the Golden Galleon, right? And then the Crow's Nest. Both were the Golden Galleon was the saison, and the Crow's Nest, of course, was the porter, and both were just awesome. And I'll let you guys get your thoughts in about the bitter before I do, because I have had this beer before, but I do have a glass in front of me with it, so excited to taste this one along with you guys.
Now, accidentally, it looks like we're getting lighter. This one is even lighter than Will's, but just a shade or two, not too much. But I didn't do this on purpose, but we seem to be getting lighter as we go down. So talk about ChatGPT. I mean, Aaron's recipe. Well, Haven.
So, full disclosure, if Aaron didn't tell you that it was ChatGPT's idea, I was going to. So Aaron should know that. I was going to rat him out anyways. But glad he did it himself. Original gravity of 1048 or 1046. Apologize. And final gravity of 1013. So I believe this is the lightest beer at 4.3. Like you said, James, the color is going up as well. This is 10.5 SRM calculated with a 27 IBU calculated. So probably the lightest on all accounts here. 83% Maris Otter, 10% Caramel 20, a little bit of Victory and Special B to round out the grain bill. So again, keeping it nice and simple. Magnum for bittering, and then East Kent Goldings throughout the rest of the boil at 30 and 15. So nothing really towards the end of the kettle or whirlpool. And this one was with Lallemand London again. So a second yeast with that London.
Again, a delicious beer. A little less. I don't know if we want to do comparisons, but a little less malty and a little less mouthfeel than Will's beer. But absolutely beautifully balanced to me, and the color of the beer, it's just a really pretty beer. This, if you poured me a pint of this at a pub, I'd be really happy. But also a little bit. Well, I don't know. Do the Brits mow lawns? It's a little bit more,
They have Jeeves
lawnmower. And actually, this is really close. This is actually very close to my beer that I opened up, both in terms of the recipe, relatively, and then in terms of just the overall strength and the overall character of the beer. But Aaron's is a really tasty beer, really good.
Super solid.
Yeah. I'm impressed so far. I'm really impressed with these.
Yeah, no, this one leans, it's of all we've had, this one leans toward the gold, in my eye. It's I would call it amber, but it's leaning a little towards the gold. It's a little lighter than anything that we've had so far. The malt character is really nice. There's nothing that stands out in the hops. And like Will's, there's something a little extra, something special there with the hop character. This is more of the kind of what I would assume is a traditional interpretation of the style. But I think it's solid. I think it's right on. I would have 2 or 3 pints of this. And at a lower gravity, I could maybe have a conversation afterwards, which is about
that's terrific.
Yeah, it's way good. Now it's really to me, one reason why I didn't like judging beers is because to me it's really easy for me to, if I find a flaw in a beer, it's really easy for me to talk about what I don't like about the beer. But if something is solid and right on, as these beers tonight have been, it's just like, yeah, it's good. Yeah, good job.
Right.
It's hard for me to dissect something that is well put together, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah, I get the beer is a little bit opaque for me. So there's just a slight bit of haze on my end. Good carbonation. It's still sticking around. Aaron and I had lengthy discussions about carbonation because mine, I struggle with that a little bit on my end. I get a very intense, and I wonder if it's from the yeast or it's from the hops, because I know East Kent Golding can kind of throw a little bit of citrus. I get like a orange kind of jammy, almost, if I think about it, like a Fruity Pebbles kind of flavor to it. A little bit sweeter on my end, which I like. I would almost expect that. Maybe not so much in if I ordered a bitter, but I certainly get some fruitiness from it, which makes it delicious.
Mine's clear as a bell.
Mine is too.
You got the bottom of the bottling bucket, Haven.
Maybe.
You're that beer that's like, oh, I can squeeze one more out of this.
This one reminds me of the old speckled hen. Which I haven't had one of those in a long time, but I used to pick up a 6-pack of that pretty frequently, and this kind of reminds me of it. Definitely in its appearance, and then also in its overall flavor profile. Though I think, as memory serves, I think the old speckled hen is a little bit more bitter, just a little bit sharper. This is actually not that sharp in terms of its bittering character. It's actually pretty soft to me, and I like it quite well for that reason, actually.
Should I open this London Pride, the Fuller's London Pride? I hate to. I mean,
it's okay. It gives you something to bounce off of.
Yeah.
And and something that, many of us have, had, a few London Fuller's Prides, maybe a lot of London Fuller's Prides at some point.
I don't know that I've ever had it before.
I have. It's good.
The color is pretty dang close, in my estimation. Cheers, guys. We haven't said cheers this evening.
Yeah.
This, the Fuller's London Pride, to me is even a little fruitier than Aaron's, I think.
Really?
From a yeast character. I didn't get quite, of course, we've been, this is our fourth beer. Aaron's is our fourth, and that's your first. So your tongue is probably sharper than ours at this point. But I get it's a little sweeter on my palate, a little fruitier, and I don't know if that's like residual sugars or yeast character. But comparing the two just side by side, and I got to say that Aaron's it hangs in. I don't know that I wouldn't want Aaron's more than this one, the commercial example.
Ooh, that's a heck of a compliment.
Of course, I don't know how old this bottle is.
That's just what I was going to say. You never know. Yeah.
It says best before the 1st of July, 2024, but it doesn't say when it was bottled. It's good.
Yeah.
I would buy that. I would buy that beer as well. It's very good.
One thing about Aaron's is that it finishes so clean, almost like, I don't know, almost like you had a swig of beer and then you had a little bit of water chaser. I mean, it literally finishes that clean to me. It just doesn't leave anything behind, and I really like that. That makes it more quaffable.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And I think that may be the comparison between the Aaron's and the Fuller's London Pride. I think the London Pride leaves a little bit of sweetness on the tongue. That might be the difference between the two.
Cool.
Interesting.
Yay. Beer. It's almost my bedtime. Okay.
All right.
Ooh, this one's got a fancy label. This one is from Dick Wallace in San Antonio, Texas.
Oh, yeah. Scottish export.
Scottish export, it says. Oh, and it's got the mash your luck. Oh, he made a label based on the press your luck board. How cool is that? It says mash your luck.
That's awesome.
I like that quite. I like that quite a bit.
Okay.
Dick in San Antonio, Texas says, "Hello, James Spencer. I'm very excited to send you these beers as I've been listening to you since I began brewing in 2011.
Oh my goodness!
I exclusively used John Palmer's How to Brew book and your podcast for all things brewing for many years. Oh, I'm sorry. I decided to brew a Scottish export for the Mash Your Luck Brew Challenge, as I've never made one, so I thought it would be fun. The boring beer stats are," and then he gave the recipe, but that's Haven's territory. So this is a Scottish export. So take it away, Haven.
Yeah, I think this is the most different one we've had outside of Matt's English Porter, which is cool to see. I still think it fits the guideline all right. Original gravity of 1057, final gravity of 1016. So we're right at 5.5, which is perfect. IBU of 28, calculated SRM of 14. Dick, when he sent me the recipe, he included a picture, so it looks, beautifully amber, maybe a little bit lighter, but just what I would expect if I ordered even like an American amber or something like that. So it looks wonderful. Little over 86% of Simpson's Pale Ale. Golden Promise. So Golden Promise, so hopefully a little bit sweeter there. Some flaked barley in there. Some caramel 60, special roast, and then rounding it out with just a hair of chocolate malt in there. Willamette at 60 and 15. So bittering just up to 26 IBUs, so not terribly bitter given the circumstances. And fermented with Omega's OIL 015, which is their Scottish ale yeast.
Oh.
Haven't had the privilege of using that one yet, but that's on the list.
The color is back to around Will's. It's a little more hazy, but the flavor is. I think this is the maltiest one yet. The malt character really shines through on this one.
Yeah, as you'd expect in a Scottish style beer, and yeah, it's definitely the maltiest. Another, wow. I mean, I'm just like blown away by these beers. This is a solid, another very solid beer.
Yeah, the bitterness is present. It's nicely. I would say it's more malt balanced than hop balanced, but I think as you said, I think that's appropriate. I definitely get some yeasty. Would you call it phenolics? Some fruity, yeasty character in there, which again would be appropriate for the style, and it makes it really. I like it quite a bit.
That's you.
Yeah, I like that. The rest of these beers have leaned, or not leaned, because they're fairly balanced, but there's a sharpness in there that's a palate cleansing, characteristic. This one, the maltiness lingers a bit on the tongue a little more. But again, I think it's very appropriate for the style.
Yeah, I'd say my little analogy would be the others are more like a ice cream shake, and this is more like an ice cream malt.
Yeah, well, it makes malty sweetness. Yeah,
it's a little maltier. If you ever just go get a malted, at the ice cream shop, they're a little thicker. Gosh, and the color. I mean, I'm just so blown away at how, frankly, all these. Let's see. I'm looking at the beers here. Just how close together they are. Meaning how well everyone kind of paid attention to the parameters and then picked their malt, the grain bill accordingly, and just kind of nailed it.
Yeah, it's real good. I wish I were a trained beer judge so I can say I'd have more intelligence.
Yeah, I kind of run out of it.
Plus, this is
that's really
now the sixth beer that I've sampled, and I'm like,
know,
yeah,
right?
it's good.
Exactly. Yeah, that's where I'm getting.
I love you, man. This beer's good.
This one is kind of a little bit different than the rest of them that we've had. We've had the English porter, and then through the kind of the bitters. Do you consider this very much very different than the other ones, or is this kind of similar in the fact that it's that sweet kind of crackery, caramely beer, or does it stand apart being that Scottish origin versus the British bitters?
Yeah, I think it's a different style. I think
it's different.
We've changed the channel here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, which is good. It's nice to have variety, even though with the parameters that were chosen at random, it kind of locked you into that part of the world, But this, while it still is within the parameters of the experiment, it is different. I mean, it is a switch from what we've had so far.
Yeah, that malty sweetness is. This beer is about malty sweetness. It is definitely not about hops.
Yeah, although the hops are there, and it's not overly sweet.
Right, it's well balanced. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, that's where the emphasis of the beer is for my palate. And again, though, to be honest, I mean, if you're riding a horse in a 40-mile-an-hour wind, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the Scottish beer and the Southern English beers.
Oh, I could definitely.
Well, not on a horse at 40 miles an hour.
I get hay. I get a little bit of horse blanket and hay. Oh, Excellent. Yeah, that was,
Yeah.
and extra credit for the label, I got to say. But the fact that there was a really good beer inside is a bonus as well. Is this the last beer?
This is the last one.
And Havo, I hope I pronounce your name right, because I've been doing the Spanish on the Duolingo, so I'm going to go with what what I think would be the Spanish pronunciation. Havo Murillo, currently brewing in Houston, Texas, or it may be Murillo. Either way, it's good. He says, "Hello, James. Thanks for teaming up with us to do this. Cheers." And along with this best bidder that Havo sent, also included 2 bottles of the brown ale, just for fun. So, Steve, you get one of the bonus beers that we can have later or a later date. So, Havo's best bidder it says Stargazer Brewing on the sticker on the front. So, Haven, what do we have for the specifics?
Yeah, so I do want to give a shout out. Havo is another member of the leadership team. So him and I, along with a few other guys, have been at this for going on 3 years now, of kind of leading this club and guiding it to where it is today. So I was really stoked. I was bummed that I didn't get to send a beer in, but was glad that someone on the leadership team got to represent us to send in a beer in to you guys.
Do you have the proper pronunciation of Havo's last name?
I think it's Murillo.
Okay.
He's never corrected me, so maybe I've just been saying it wrong for 3 years, and he's too kind to not correct me. But so I believe that's right. He'll let me know now that I've called myself out for it. So I got a original gravity of 1045 and a final gravity of 1004. So this is the driest one by far. I'm reading off of a Beersmith recipe sheet, which I haven't read in forever. So I'm struggling to find all the statistics here. But we'll move into grain bill. So we started out with Maris Otter at 64%. Looks like amber malt at a little over 16%. Pale 2 row at 12%, and Victory at a little under 8%. So no caramel malt in this one, no chocolate, no roasted. So this should be really interesting because this is quite different than the rest. Looks like a little bit of Challenger to bitter, and then Fuggles throughout the rest of the boil. A little bit of Fuggles at 60 minutes as well, and then 10 minutes. And then it looks like Havo did a steep with Fuggles and EKG once the flame was killed. So just a little bit, just a half an ounce total of both Fuggle and EKG at flame out. Mm-hmm. And fermented with, where is it? Oh, Verdant IPA. So another Lallemand yeast, another Lallemand dry yeast. I believe that is the dry version of London Ale 3. Just a little bit fruitier of a version of that yeast. So
another solid beer.
Very. And for my I get the most bouquet out of this beer, and it's definitely a hop bouquet that I get from it, and of course that steeping at the end that explains that, and I like that very much. It's actually kind of, well, I don't want to say refreshing, but it's different from the other beers, and it immediately caught my attention, and then also this is in color, by far the lightest beer.
Yes.
And it has also this one has really good head retention, at least in my pour it does.
Yeah, to me it's fairly dry, sharp. It's like a palate cleanser beer, but at the same time, I think it might have the most interesting malt characteristics of the batch. It's light in flavor. It's a lighter. It feels like a lighter beer, but at the same time, there's a lot going on in that malt, sort of backbone of the beer, where it's not heavy. It's not like sweet, but it's really interesting. On my palate, I get more of the malt than the hops, but maybe that's just me at this point in the evening. but I like this beer quite a bit. Very cleanly fermented.
Yeah.
It is a little fruity on the yeast character, but it just seems complex in a subtle way on the malt character. Does that make sense?
Sure. And the other thing that really jumps out at me again, I'm back to focusing on the hops in this beer. This beer is just as fresh. It's just like the morning dew creeping across the the moors. It's really, it's just a very fresh, kind of bright, refreshing palate cleansers was a good descriptor. Really nice beer. And maybe of all these beers, this is the one that I would say is the most commercial. I mean, that I would really expect this from a good local, British style brewery. This is the one that kind of goes, okay, that's it right there.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, and again, I'm not trying to, like I really, really liked, I can't remember the strong beer, Chris's beer. That was super good.
Mm-hmm.
But this one this is when I'm blown away by this. I really am. I got to tell you, Haven, we've done a lot of these shows, and sometimes you get them, you're like, let me find something good to say here. But these
Tastes familiar.
Yeah, that's familiar. I've never had anything quite like that before. Every one of these beers have just been as solid and well brewed as you could ever want. Even though and I'm also really blown away at how different they are.
Yeah.
So what a great experiment! What a great activity!
Yeah, which is why I don't think it's fair to pick a favorite out of the bunch.
I kind of agree. Yeah,
because they're each different and they're all good. And this is, if this were a best of show judging category in a competition, you do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't want to do that.
This is just kind of like a flight of really good beers.
Yeah.
I mean, really, that's what we just did. We just did a flight of beers in there, and like you go into a pub and say, "Give me all your, I don't know, your British pale ales," and that's kind of what we got.
Yeah, and you would think that with the parameters, I was afraid with the parameters that we picked that this was going to be kind of a boring, flat. It had the potential to be a boring, flat tasting. But I don't think that that's what happened here. I think each beer has been different, and great interpretations of the challenge, and each one of them's good in their own way. So I don't know. It sounds like I'm just trying to be nice, but not.
No, I mean, so yeah, I mean, at first I was like, okay, I'm going to pick the the best one, but there's not a best. They're all top flight beers.
I would be if I were to go to the liquor store and come home with a 6-pack of any of these, I would be completely happy. In fact, there are I like not a diss against Fuller's London Pride, because if it's brewed in the UK, it's a well-traveled beer, and that may be part of the problem. But yeah, product of England, it says. So, maybe if you got it fresh, from the brewery, it'd be a different beer. But it was the one that I was kind of least impressed by, and it's good. It's it's a good beer on its own, but I liked all the homebrew better. I have to say.
I will say that I've had the privilege of trying a couple of the brewers that sent in beers to you guys. I've had a privilege of trying some of their beers and plenty of others from the Bru Club, and not to toot our own horn or anything like that, but we have some of the most amazing brewers in this club. Just wonderful at interpreting different things and brewing some beers, and even first time brews. I would guess, other than Matt, who mentioned that he's brewed that beer a couple times, all of these have probably been first time brews. And I know Aaron's, the one that I got to try, was just absolutely incredible. So I'm glad that you guys picked up on the same thing that I've known for a while, is that these guys are just amazing brewers.
Yeah. Well, I feel inadequate.
I've had your beers. You're a good brewer. What are you talking about?
Oh, I'm just kidding. I'm just joshing.
Oh, well, man, I don't know what else to say other than, if you guys want to do this again one day, I'm up for it. Are you up for it, Steve?
Yeah. Heck, I want to play.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I want to brew one. I want to do it.
Well, there's an opportunity coming later this week. I'm going to get together with, soon, I'm going to get together with Adam and Scott to taste Scott Housel's Mash Your Luck beer. So if you're not available to record, maybe I'll play the game in your stead. Would you trust me to make decisions and play the game on your behalf?
Absolutely.
Oh, all right. Cool.
Don't do a Russian Imperial Stout. I'm out of money.
Well, I might buy your ingredients. I could write that off. Oh, well, excellent, Haven. I so appreciate your reaching out to get in touch with us and to get this done. And I certainly appreciate everybody who brewed beers and sent us the beers, and everybody else who wanted to, but didn't get to send in the beers. This is wonderful, and if we get to do it again, that'd be a fun thing.
Yeah, I agree. This was a great opportunity that kind of came out of just a simple conversation within the Bru Club, which is where most of our cool activities come from, is just a spur of the moment thing. So thank you both. I know you guys both had a really tough job tonight. So glad you guys did it well. Tasted some good beers, and I'm certain that people would want to do this again. And I mean, if we can get some crazy, wacky guideline to follow, I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we'll try harder next time.
Yeah.
We'll throw some crazy categories in there.
There you go.
All right. Well, excellent. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, James.
Thank you.
Many thanks to Haven and of course, everybody in the Bru Club for responding to the challenge, and especially to those who have sent I think that's the best tasting flight of beers I've had in a while. They were all great. It's probably from reading and listening to all that brewlosophy content that has them brewing such awesome beers. If you have brewing questions, show suggestions, or just want to say howdy, write to James at basicbrewing.com or just fill out the contact form on basicbrewing.com. And please don't forget to tell us where you're from. Check out our mobile-friendly shop at basicbrewingshop.com. Thanks to everybody supporting us through our Patreon page. Special goodies coming your way, and always at patreon.com/basicbrewing. It's all until next time. Till then, thanks for listening, everybody. I'm James Spencer. Production help for Basic Brewing Radio and our website is provided by Kelly Dodson. Basic Brewing Radio is a production of Active Voicing. We'll talk to you next time, everybody. In the meantime, stay well and stay tuned. So long.